Good day, everyone. We're here at the Postgraduate Institute of Management with Mr. Samantha Ratnayaka. He is a management consultant at PIM and a core lecturer here. Welcome to our program.
Welcome.
The Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, has partnered with AMDISA to co-host the AMDISA 2016 Executive Council meeting and regional conference, along with the Institute of Certified Professional Managers. The theme this year is management development through international networking and collaborations. What is your take on the theme this year?
Yeah, I think that is directly linked to mainly the competence development in the local level as well as at the regional level. And of course, one good news is that apart from the director's involvement, I am the key coordinator for this conference right through from PIM point of view. Because of that, I got an opportunity to work right through with various scholars and looking at the theme, looking at what areas to cover and so on and so forth. So mainly I would say this is timely, and of course it has multiple openings, because networking and collaborations are part and parcel in today's management development, human resource development, and of course taking from your show to beyond the other shows and so on. So therefore, I would say it's a timely selected topic.
All right. So why has this been identified as an important topic at this time? Like you said, it's timely. So why is it timely? We're in 2016. Technology, there's a lot of advances, and especially in terms of communicating and communication. So why is it that you'll have identified this topic as important now?
Perhaps, may I give a quick background? Say, if you look at organizations during, if we go back to 70s, where in terms of success was determined based on like slow but consistency. So that whatever you do, if you are doing slowly but steadily, consistently, that was coined as the success of organizations. That was back in overall management concepts like Japanese thinking and other emerging concepts and so on. These I'm talking about post-World War II and the emergence of management from personnel to HR and so on and so forth. Then if you look at 80s, it is predominantly the movement from that thinking of slow, consistent to fast and consistent. People are looking at excellence. In fact, a couple of books like In Search of Excellence in early 80s and so on paved the way to look at things in a much more broader sense. But the whole idea of competence and business process re-engineering, tacit knowledge, human resource into strategic human resource, and balanced scorecard, like many concepts emerged and triggered off during 90s. That is, I am referring to before this century. Now the challenge is that particularly before year 2000, the heap of concepts and the emerging themes were mainly evolved around the concept of competency. And competence and competency. Competence we look for the organizations, competency for individuals. But what has happened, year 2000 onwards, the line of thinking of people has changed. That is, they realize that there are slow people, consistent people, fast, consistent. Of course, rare, unique, non-substitutable qualities there, attributes there within people. So it was realized that winning the game, the key criterion is something else. That is where teamwork begins. If you look at the acronym name, together everyone achieves more. But if we connect that, all the organizations all over the world, irrespective of the management team, jargon, concept, people are looking at some sort of networking, synergizing, going beyond your capability shows. Sometimes certain areas you don't have the capabilities. We need to expand those horizons. I think the best way is the teamwork and some other concepts. In that context, this has very high relevance because networking and collaborations is the way, bringing we call global local combinations, perhaps bringing best practices, next practices, what other success stories, in our country as well as in the region. So in that sense, regional people have a platform to come to a forum where share their views, what are their success stories and so on. I think that is predominantly the concept I see in this theme.
Excellent. What are some of the winning strategies in terms of competence development?
That's a very, very good question, very broad question. Let me begin with, say, the fundamental idea is that when it comes to human resource management, fundamentally it is about policies, practices and so on. But HRM is the broad theme, whereas human resource development is looking at what is that enabling part. So I would like to call as the able into enable, so that how the bridge can be shortened and connect and so on. So the idea is that companies and the business managers are looking at, or academics are looking at, they are doing research in terms of how to make this able into enable. So human resource management, sometimes it is controversial whether it's a resource. Yes, it's a resource. But if you don't utilize properly, it's just a resource. So therefore, where is that enabling factor coming? So enabling factor is where are the strategies, where are the HRD coming. So therefore, one of the areas like training to do the job. Development is for future. So that's why we say training and development. We use together. But training is to do the job. But development is to be, so become. So therefore, the competence development, one needs to identify what are the key criteria, what is relevant for the respective organization, business context, then of course appropriately structure, then put it to required level. In fact, we can take that to a broad level since you're asking that, as I said, it's a broad question. Sometimes your vision, mission, organization, and then when it comes to reality, operationalizing, doing it level, of course, we call key performance indicators into a key behavioral indicators. Now that is where the role coming into play. That is where HRD, strategies, otherwise you might have a fantastic plan, superb and excellent, well articulated plan, but where is the enabling part? Enabling part is where that key behavioral indicators, because end of the day, it's what individuals' contribution. So individuals to be identified what exactly the competencies that we are referring according to the business context, because as you know, the competencies for insurance is not for the hospitality, that is not for education, that is not for IT. So we have to understand the context. Accordingly, we need to structure, get it to our requirements, aligning. We can further discuss how that can be operationalized and so on and so forth.
All right. So what are some of the key elements in having a successful collaboration?
Yeah, I think let me share our own experience. Say, for an example, Postgraduate Institute of Management. Now, we are not a profit-driven organization, but as an academic institute, with having with a lot of, say, professional and the academic combination, what we do, where we can develop concepts and so on, but we should not be just preachers of concepts. So there should be a relevance for organizations to do, execute. So in that context, what we do actually, for an example, when we are initiating a particular HRD initiative, we get the respective organization, that particular industry requirement, then we try to look at that the concept that's doing combination. In that sense, we are not just telling. So we would love to have tell, show, tell. So that means we have certain mechanisms. I would carefully use some of the terms what we do. Exclusively what we do, we take their ongoing underpinning problems. So those problems will be crafted and masterfully and clinically put it to a format in line with the learning. So we give the facilitation, and they would take that to their respective organization. They would execute. They would take to the next level. Now the collaboration plays at local, regional, where these insights coming. So we can bring those whatever not available say insights, synergies into the context, and then we gear it up. And so the end of the day, the collaboration gives us the synergy, where institute contributes on one hand, but end of the day, their investment, they have a return. That means the other party would get the benefit in terms of the solving their problems. Now, just imagine that if I draw to another dimension where they want to do it by executing or spending money, like executing a massive project and so on. Perhaps they have a fantastic project, excellent kind of output, but do employees ready to accept that? No. So that is the predominant scenario. So therefore, what we do, we get the buy-in. So they would involve. We would give in the leverage, the facilitation. So collaboration works. So then end of the day, organizations realize that this should not be only for certain section of the organization, it should be top down. So therefore, what we observe that corporates and multinationals and so on, while they are exposing to international other setups, they are trying to use these success stories like what I am referring now. So therefore, collaboration is one of the key factors in this context.
Okay. What is the environment like in terms of sharing best practices and insights here in Sri Lanka? Is there a platform? Is it something that people are making use of?
I think it's a really fascinating question. That because when you're looking at the term best practices, predominantly it came from conceptual background articulated by late Professor C.K. Prahalad and so on from India. And mainly they were talking about in early 90s about this competence concept while concentrating for how to compete for future and so on. So while they are looking at those, and later people start to look at some sort of practices should be there. So we call best practices. But then there are arguments. What is best for you is not best for us, and so on. So therefore, the idea, the conceptualization is that what about the next practices? What about the other practices, and so on? So we need to ask why not, and so on. So when it comes to Sri Lanka, sometimes this has a mixed scenario according to my observation, because I have been in my 10 years in diverse corporate sectors and later in multiple educational institutes. So I have attempted to involve and engage with multiple stakeholders to give problem solving, value creation based solutions. I would say inculcating some best practices for certain areas. The scenario is a mix. I love to use that word mix because it is not perfect. But on the same time, there are some myths. For an example, people perhaps take a book, go overseas, or say go to another country and know another practice and just take concept and try to replicate here. Then there would be some problems because the culturalization, the integration might not be exactly the same. So we know that the fact that one case happens or success in one context would not be exactly appropriate to another. But still, in terms of taking, the transferring, transforming and leveraging is happening very slowly. Perhaps our academics and the professions also should ready for making that combination by bringing that global-local combination we used to call now is at global. It should not be confined to the only word meaning, the global. It should be the real sense of bringing those concepts into execution, application. So we can go for some examples like, say, one best practice in Japan. Let's take something like 5S and so on. Now, why we are actually following here? That because, say, culturally, according to the system, sometimes that part of the world, that people in their mindset, in their, the culturalization is that it's everything in place for in everything, and so on. Perhaps in our parts of the world, people don't do like that. And we need to put it to a system, because there is a saying that you can't change people, but you can change systems. Then people would adapt it. It's a controversial statement, yet once the system's in place, people start to adapt it. So similarly, that's one of the best practices. But when it comes to execution, might be people only talking about that, but not executing. So we have to see that. That's why very few people are success in those drives. Some are yet to. For an example, now PIM is looking for making our institute is a 5S place, for an example. That is simply not because of that best practice, because it has relevance for us. It has relevance, it further ease our working and so on and so forth. So having said that, that is one aspect. Some other concepts. Say for an example, I would like to take a controversial one. It's a teamwork. Now teamwork is by nature Asians, they are all on par with that. They want to collective, they want to demonstrate and do something in a collective manner. Perhaps in the other parts of the world, we can say Western parts of the world, European countries, perhaps in their culture, teamwork is not the proposition for them. So that the scholars are trying to understand what should be the best method for this and so on. So they would call this is teamwork, team dynamics. Then sometimes in a blindfolded manner, we would take those and try to execute in our context. Actually, it's a matter of aligning, gearing it up, and so nothing wrong with the best practices. And as you know that when it comes to military and certain contexts, teamwork is the best weapon. So irrespective of the country, nature, culture. But end of the day, there should be a mechanism. There should be a mechanism to use those best practices. So that within this theme also I would see this networking, collaboration, where it's a time for us to look at whether our practices are in line with their ones, what we can get it out of them, and so on and so forth.
Okay. And there's a lot of different countries, members from different countries participating. What would, if someone would come and ask you, what are some of the strengths in your field, in your sector, that is embodied here in Sri Lanka in terms of HRM?
I see my main belief is that human resource management, if we look at as a subject, how it has been evolving. Say it's about 100 years story. Early stages, it is a person comes, file opens. Person goes, file goes. The fundamental thing is personnel, administrative, more welfare, and so on. As you know that after World War II, what has happened, this World Wide Web and the intranet came into business, but no people factor. So on one line of thinking is that human resource management was articulated. On the other hand, it was called as personal development. So then subsequent themes are still in line. Then later, 80s and particularly closer to 90s, organizations start to look at, this HRM is just doing their lip services, not a dominant role, not a effective contribution. That's why some scholars clearly articulated that human resource management should have administrative linkage. They should be the administrative experts. They should have a business strategy partnership. They should be the employee champions. And when it comes to organizational change requirements, they should be there in the forefront and so on and so forth. But the latter part, 90s and so on, this fundamental question which you asked is what is the role of HRM? I would say that each one of us has those attributes of qualities and competencies in terms of knowledge, skill, attitude, other values, ethics, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to make that able into enable, where is that contribution? So I would say that in Sri Lanka there are a couple of organizations like PIM, then IPM, there are some other HR bodies, then of course other institutes, other professional institutes are by and large looking for getting this enabling part. And on one hand, we have to accept the fact that I'm not going to much more economic side, but the labor competencies, labor scarcity, and required labor, required competencies are arguably discussed. So much of controversies there in terms of demand and the supply, and so on and so forth. And then the education system also not gear it up to that direction. So therefore, this is a very broad area yet to be done, like so much area to be developed and so on. And human resource development should not be a mere say preaching, andragogical of transferring knowledge from one generation to other. It should not be just a training program, training kind of a proposition mindset. It is a holistic approach, because I would like to connect that more precisely to your question, HRD into education. Because if you look at the pillars of education, it is about 4 things. It is about to know, that is about knowledge. It is about to do, it's about the skill part. Anyone should. Why we are sending our children to school? With those, not only knowledge. Third thing is to love. So that is where you come, your emotions, ethics, and in terms of your empathetic, the affective feelings and so on. But on the same time, finally, how to live with others, behave with others. Those are the 4 pillars. Now, sometimes the trends, as I said, that have been set in a myopic way, by setting paths like going for knowledge driven, only knowledge, and acquiring accumulation of knowledge by representing and getting a couple of certificates and so on.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your very insightful thoughts with us.
Thank you so much.